Imhotep, Seni, Senet, Uncle Jasaneb, Dua, Ba'u Imra for listening. Greetings. This is your brother Asarim Ka, and I happen to pull one of the elders, one of the great ones, from out the midst of doing what he was doing on the eve of the Helical Rising. Basically, we are that close to a brand new year, and I brought my brother Ptah Sekher out. Imhotep, say, but how are you?
Dua, Uncle Asdeje, Uncle Jasaneb, Ubenefike, Banebu, Heruma At, Siba, Asa, El. How are you doing
Wow,
today? Anuk, Nefila.
Uncle Johnson, doing good, doing good. I mean, we're here. The new year is here. Um, you've just released a brand new calendar. Uh, and for those of you who do not know, Brother Ptah Sekher, he if you can kind of brief them, that's the Rasurian calendar right there in his hand. That's what we're getting ready to discuss, not in detail. That we're saving that for tomorrow. This is just a sneak peek, right? But the brother built a temple, I believe, in the Boston Museum. If you can shed some light on what that what that temple is about and how it come to be that you were the one commissioned to do the work in there.
Yes, absolutely. Anuk Ptah Sikh Asa. My name is Ptah Sikh Asa. I am the royal scribe, master craftsman, and keeper of time of Tesha Ra. That's the Holy House of Ra in Boston, Massachusetts. And I am the reconstructor of the only reconstructed Nubian or Tamarian royal burial chamber or tomb room in the world. It's located in Boston, Massachusetts, in Roxbury at the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave, Roxbury, Mass. 02119, if you want to Google it. And I've been studying under the teachings of the Tesha Ra for the last 55 years. And I spent my whole life reconstructing and reanalyzing all that was stolen from us, which was our divine birthright, which is immortality. This is what they stole from us. So, when they first stole our immortality, they stole time from us. And how they stole time was they gave us a lunar cycle calendar. Then they stole our spirituality by taking away our cultural, indigenous spirituality by indoctrinating us under this monotheistic concept of one God. And of course, they corrupted the science, the mathematics, astrology, the astronomy, so on and so forth. So it took me 55 years, dedicated my whole life to assembling the dismembered body of our paternal father, Asa Unefa Kentiamenti. So what they did was they falsified, plagiarized, corrupted, and then regurgitated our own information back to us in an unholy manner. And this is where we're at today. It's called injured humanity. And we have become injured humanity for the last 3,000 years. For 3,000 years, for those of you who are scholars and understand anything about history, you would know that history begins with scholarship, which begins with scholars, which begins with the school of Plato. Okay? So if you would Google this for your own edification and for your due diligence, you would know that history begins on a chronological timeline, which is based upon the Gregorian calendar, and which was also based upon UTC, Universal Time Coordinated, and GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, which no one uses this in the world but those who keep us into a state of mental incarceration. But they sold us on a lunar calendar. So if you was to Google a Kemetic calendar, you would come up with a Ptolemaic calendar, a Greek calendar, which is in the Temple of Dendera. And in this calendar is based upon the cycles of the moon. And it was commissioned by Ptolemy the First, Ptolemy the Third, and Ptolemy the Fifth, in which you can Google this. It's called the decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3. And so most of the Kemetic people think that we had a calendar of 12 months. And actually we did, but it was only based upon the cycles of the moon. This is where everybody gets hung up at. Everybody who's a scholar, who's a Googler. I'm not a scholar. I have scholarship. I would not call myself a scholar because it would be an insult to my African indigenous primordial ancestors, our cultural ancestors, our spirituality, to call myself a scholar, because that means that I'm a Greek and I'm a Roman. Okay? I'm a wig wearer. Okay? So now, if you would understand that there are 3 months, 3 seasons that has 4 months in each season, which comes out to 360 days. And each season, each month has 30 days. And anytime you see a mathematical equation, it's very simple. See, in the temple, you must learn science, religion, and mathematics. You have to equate the integer and also equate astrology and astronomy in order to have absolute accountability and star validation. Now, we have teachers out there that know Medunetta, but don't know mathematics. They know mathematics, but don't know science. They know science, but don't know spirituality. And they don't know, and they know all that, they don't know the Medunetta. So we have everybody out there that are very doing their job, and it's very good that everybody's contributing to the wholeness of our African rebuilding, our African spirituality, and to our African nation building. But the thing is, until we learn how to tell time, we will always be injured humanity, because this is the first thing they stole from us. So most of the Kemetic people, I tell them there's 9 days in a week. Before the Romans and the Greeks, there were 9 days in every week, and time was kept by charting stars that were visible on our calendar, aware of the movement of the earth, star, and moon. These ancient African indigenous primordial Naga, Shemseru, Nesubiti, Hemet peoples, the immortal ones of Ma'at, were cosmically attuned. So now someone would say, well, how can it be 9 days a week? The Egyptians didn't have 9, there was 10 days in a week. So if you have a Kemetic calendar that has 10 days in a week, means you have 3 weeks in a month. And that means 3 weeks times 10 is 30 days in each month. So common sense would tell you that it's a lunar cycle calendar, because every 29 and a half days is the cycles of the moon between the waxing and the waning. This isn't rocket science. This is sacred science. So our ancestors did not have only a lunar cycle calendar. A lunar cycle calendar can only be used to regulate the inundation of the Nile, for agricultural purposes, because you have to grow your crops during the proper times of the proper season. And you would know the birth and gestations and the menstrual cycles of the female and the high and low tides of the ocean. Okay, but you cannot reach immortality. So the first thing they stole from us was our time. They gave us a lunar cycle calendar. There are 9 days in a week. How can I prove this? Where are my primary facts, my primary evidence? So if you was to Google first calendar reform, the only way you're going to do this is you have to go and see what they put up there on Google for you. I'm not from Google. I'm going to teach you for things that you can't Google. But we're getting ready to go tomorrow where you cannot, this is ungoogleable. Because you have to come from a temple. This is primordial temple discipline. Primordial temple discipline methodology. You cannot Google this. Okay? You can only apply this to the cosmic forces that allow you love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of ponderable matter, meaning the Netcherus, the gods and goddesses, the Puat Netarus. Some of the teachers I heard them say that.
Hold up, brother Ptah, before you go too deep on him. He's hitting you up with some hydrogen bombs, some helium bombs. He hitting you with some informata from the Zep Tepi right now. You understand me? From the time before time existed. So, Todd, this is what brought about this particular discussion. Besides us celebrating the new year, the Helical Rising, you have some some cynics, if you will, the cynical is saying this is pseudo, this is this is that, this is the other, and of course you're aware of them. And of course they also present calendars as well. So tomorrow I've invited my brother Wujao. I'm going to invite a
Beautiful.
few other people as well.
Dua. Dua.
Clear
Siba.
take. Yep, yep, yep. We want a clear take on the calendar.
Absolutely.
We want to see it
Absolutely.
from all sides. We want to see yours, of
Absolutely.
course, because yours just went on sale. And if you don't know where to get it or how to get it, if you will tell them how to get the calendar first and foremost.
You have to go to www.patah, P-T-A-H. P is in Peter, T is in Teddy, A is in always, H is in happy. Patah Originals, ORIGINALS.com. Then you have to just follow the link. Of course, my Square Cash link is down right now for some reason, but I have two other options. You can send a postal money order or a MoneyGram to Dana Williams, 37 Oakcrest Road, Mattapan, Boston, Mass. 02136 for your fastest delivery while I reconstruct the problem and glitch that I have with my electronic. I don't have PayPal, I have Square Cash. For some reason this week it's not working. That's Uncle said it worked. But anyways, we just reached the most spiritual time of our whole existence as a Naga peoples. Naga meaning black, Nagas, whatever you want to call it. But the Nagas been here for millions and millions of years, and we have temples all over the planet. And each temple is orientated to the celestial axis of the pole stars, the circumpolar stars, which are Polaris, Theba, Vega, and Draco, and of course to the Helical Rising, which is the Orion's belt in Sirius. Now, the third indicator is on the spring equinox. So if you was to wake up on March 21st on the Gregorian calendar, and at sunrise, before the sun rises, an hour before the sunrise, and the constellation that is in the sky indicates where we're located on the phenomenon of precession, which is the precession of equinox, the 26,000 years it takes the Earth, the sun to go around each and every sign of the zodiac. So these are the three ways that we tell time. And basically, the problem lies in scholarship and what you was taught, because you was taught by the Greeks and the Romans. So the first thing that they did was they took away the mathematical equation. And the mathematical equation is that each time the Earth has three movements. It has three dimensions and three movements. The three movements of the Earth is the daily cycle of 24 hours and 35 minutes in one day. Then there's 365 days, 360 days to go around the sun. And then there's 26,000 years to go around the phenomenon of precession. That's the three movements of time. Now, the three dimensions of time are, of course, daily time, yearly time, and great year time. Okay, so now, to break it down on a simpler level, so we're going to make this IP idiot proof, so when we talk tomorrow, we can get past all the filibustering. The reason why we know that there are 9 days in a week is because if you Google 754 BC AUC, which is Ab Urbe Gotita, which is Latin for upon the founding of the city of Rome, this is common knowledge. You're going to find Eratosthenes and Aristarchus after, this is 754 BC. This is after the Kush kings lost control of Kemet or Tameri or Tanisha, Taseti, or Naga Egypt, or just Egypt, whatever you want to call it. In 754 BC, Espalta, Pianki, Tahaka, Shabaka was ran back up into Nuri, Napata, and Medaway, back to Kush. And this is when they took over, and they had to find out how to control us. And this is what they did. So we know that they placed us under the lunar cycle calendar under AUC, Ab Urbe Gotita, 754 BCE. That's the first calendar reform. The second calendar reform would be the Decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3, which is Ptolemy 1, 3, and 5. The fourth calendar reform is 46 BC, which is the Gregorian calendar, which is the Roman calendar. Excuse me, the Roman calendar, 46 BC, and that was commissioned by Sosigenes, who was the vizier of Cleopatra. So this is where we begin to put the puzzle together, because Ptolemy's disguised it so well. Under Ptolemy the first, Soter Serapi September Mary Amen, who was the first Ptolemy, who was a general of Alexander. And when Alexander died in India, they put these straws in a lot, and all the generals shook it up, and Ptolemy drew Egypt. That's how he got to Egypt. Okay, now in 46 BC, Julius Caesar puts his knife up to Sosigenes' neck, and he says, "I'm Caesar. I came, I saw, I conquered." Everybody knows this story. Every theologian knows this story. Okay, now, so he said, "Put me on the map." So we went from 9 days to 8 days. We went from 10 months to 11 months. Now, Caesar got assassinated in the Senate. Et tu, Brute, you know, everybody stabbed him. The last one was Brutus, and et tu, Brute, you know, you too, Brutus. And then after Tiberius came Augusta. So then Augusta puts his knife up to Sosigenes, molestes him, does what them Romans do. You know how they treat you. And we went from 8 days to 7. We went from 11 months to 12. We know this is true because in Latin, because all we know is Latin and Greek. And then they stole it from the Medunetta. So we take what we know from the Latin and Greek and understanding the Medunetta as most people are learning to understand it. We know that in Latin, Dice means 10, but December is our 12th month. Nove is Latin for 9. November, nueve in Latin. It means 9, but it's our 11th month, right? Octo means 8, because octopus has 8 tentacles and octagon has 8 sides. It's the Latin word, octo is the Latin word for 8, but it's our 10th month. Sept means 7. Siete means 7, but it's our 9th month. That's because of them two historical figures, Augustus Caesar and Julius Caesar for July and Augustus Caesar for August. So we're starting to put the pieces together. Okay, we know that Julius he wanted to be the baddest on the planet, so he added 1 month, 1 day to his month, so he got 31 days. And then Augusta came, he wanted to be as bad as Julius, so he took another day. He made August 31 days. And then, you know, they rate that from that Gregorian month of February. That's why February has 28 days. And it's so simple that we don't understand what they did to us, because the only way that you can understand how many days are in a month is you have to sing a nursery rhyme. 30 days has September, April, June, and November, all the rest have 31. I mean, this is just retardation to the utmost, okay? So now, we're trying to figure out, for scholars, how do we relate to all come together, because we can no longer remain divided and undecided. We must become united under one Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pamar. Now, I have no problem with the concept that there was 12 months, there was a calendar of 12 months, but there was inside of this is a solar, sidereal, and lunar calendar. So what they did was they severed us from the solar and the sidereal, which is Ra and Septet, and gave us a lunar cycle calendar. Because with a lunar cycle calendar, a Naga person cannot reach immortality, because that's what our whole divine cultural spirituality was about. That's what they came to Kemet. They came to Africa, Akulamba, whatever the new names you're using for our motherland. They came here to steal our immortality. And how they did it was they stole our time. Because once they stole time, then they was able to steal our spirituality. And then once they stole our spirituality, they was able to give us their diet. And now they set our limitations. Because with a lunar cycle calendar, you cannot reach the stars. You cannot break through the stratosphere, the atmosphere, the troposphere, the ionosphere. They got so many spheres before you reach outer space. And then from there, you have the band of the Milky Way galaxy, which is the cosmic, invisible, and biblical cord of our great mother goddess, Nut, our great Netcherut, Nut, who is the sky goddess. So
now before you go deep into that, you're gonna have some people even on the Hekanu Chair site on Facebook. That's HKN NTR for y'all who don't know. Praises of the divine. That's what we do. Praise the divine. So
Well,
on that, or even on there, you have people ask uh about the different calendars in Africa and if they match up. So we had a brother say the Dogon had 4 days in a month. Of course, I just finished doing the article on the Maasai, uh, and they have of course their calendar matches perfectly with what's in place now concerning the 4 months, 3 seasons, etc., etc. And I would say the real names of those seasons through the Messiah, because they were actual clans that lived in ancient Kemet. How do you see the African clans and
absolutely.
how their calendars are now in
Absolutely.
comparison to what put together?
Absolutely. So what? See, so this is where you have to know the science, religion, the mathematics. You have to know primordial temple discipline, because obviously we know there's not 4 days in a week. Obviously, but the number four. Now we have to go into numerology, right? We have to know the numeric principles of the origins of existence, and the creation and development of the universe. So when they have the four, they're relating it on three different levels of consciousness that is connecting them to their terrestrial plane, the atomic domain, and into the origins of existence at the same time in order to maintain that cultural spirituality because of the affliction of the injured humanity that was imposed upon us, and how the French and the Dutch and everyone was coming in there and destroying and decimating our whole way of life. So it had to be coded. And the great age of Amen, which is the great age of Aries in the Gregorian calendar, which we know Aries represents Amen, because in the avenue of sphinxes in Luxor in Karnak, you have an avenue of sphinxes that are orientated to the constellation of Aries. So when the sun passed into this constellation, Aries, which was Amen, became Amen Ra. That's why the main deity in the 18th dynasty was Amen Ra, because the sun was passing through that constellation. So as long as we're able to apply the movement of the light, the sun, through the phenomenon of precession, and also relating to the sun as it is defined scientifically as a hydrogen atom, as atomic energy, and then understanding the primordial functions of the light, time, because time is the movement of the light through the void of deep dark cold space from one point or distance to another. So when we relate to these other African tribal concepts and traditions, cultural traditions of recording and measuring time, they're utilizing it on a multiple base in order to relate to the seasonal movement so that they can grow the crops. Because the main thing is to grow the crops. The second thing is to relate to its principal aspect of the light being a mirrored, which is atomic energy being a mirrored reflection of subatomic, to know where the light came from, its mirrored reflection, to know where the source of the light came from, to understand ourselves as a being. Because there are many of us who go through life who never have their first day, who never acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. And this is what the whole paradigm of injured humanity is. So, the reason that I mentioned this as why you have to understand the difference between a 30-day calendar, a lunar cycle calendar, for you scholars, please understand this. Every 130 years, one unearned day is added to the calendar. That's why from 754 BCE, under Eratosthenes and Aristarchus, when they first conquered Egypt, and then came Darius, and of course the Persians and the 26th dynasty, and so on and so forth. I hate to use dynasties and words, but just for scholarship purposes and scholar purposes, we're going to use these terms. Now we go down to Ptolemy in the Decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3. They lined up, and somebody said, well, the crops didn't grow this year. Okay? because every 130 years, 100 days is added to the calendar. So this is why you have calendar reforms. This is why there's so many calendar reforms, because they have to keep reforming the calendar. We never had to reform the calendar because we accounted for every second of time of the movement of the light. So we're celebrating today is the 359th day of the year. What time is it now? On the Gregorian calendar, Greenwich Mean Time, UTC, Universal Time Coordinated, and Greenwich Mean Time, it's 11:01 on the Eastern Standard Time. So that means at 12 o'clock, it'll be day zero. That means this is the 300th day of the year. And we know that originally, often our Kemetic ancestors, our Naga Shemseru Nesubitis. Now, just don't get me wrong now. There was another calendar, but it wasn't a Shemsu Hor. I'm a Shemsu Hor. I'm a descendant from the Shemsu Hors. I was born from Heru and Heteru, who was born from Asa and As, who was born from Seb and Nu, who was born from Shu and Tepnu, who was born from the direct issue of Ra Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, so now I'm a Shemsu Hor. So understanding that being a Shemsu Hor or a Shemsu Heru, because the world was controlled first by the Netcherus, then by the Shemsu Horus, then by the Shemsu Sets, and then of course came the population of mankind, because they're the four children of Heru, which are Mester, Hapi, Tuanlutef, and Quebsanoth, and their descendants populated the planet. Okay, this is all part of our spiritual African cultural tradition. Okay, but there was Shemsu and Shemsu Sets. I'm a Shemsu Hor. I'm a Shemsu Heru.
He's a follower of Heru. For those of you who are missing.
Right. Shemsu means follower.
Heru right. is who he follows. And when the king was live, any Nisut that was on the throne, any Nisut that was on the throne was considered to be Heru in the flesh. And when they passed, they were considered to be an Asar, which I'm a heck in the chair. I'm a praiser of Asar.
Or there was a Shemsu Set, because you see the cartouches, which is that word, that Greek word, which I even hate to use, but we use the word Sherek. The Sherek is the oblong box. So if you go and Google the primordial cartouches or Shereks, you'll see the Heru with the name of the Nesubiti underneath it. But now there are Shereks with Uncle Set, with Set. They got Set on top and the Nesubiti's name underneath. You understand what I'm saying? So he wasn't, this Nesubiti wasn't a Shemsu Hor. He was a Shemsu Set. So you understand what I'm saying? So there was a time though when there was nothing wrong with being a Shemsu Set, because in the cosmology we know that Uncle Set used to be on the back of the Montet boat at the Bubble of a Million Years. He used to harpoon a Pepi and let Ra descend into Amenti, into the Dwat, and to rise again. That was Uncle Seti's main job. Now we could go into that conversation. There's another conversation why he lost his job, and Hekau and Hu and Sa took over because of the diet. And then we go into that, and that's why everybody has a bad diet. Lose your frequencies, you lose your vibrations, you lose your attunement. Because in the temple, you have to learn all these things. You have to learn about the eat. You have to learn how to eat from the seed. How can you understand what I'm saying in your body? You're sitting there listening to me eating a pork chop, eating a sandwich when you're eating and drinking at the same time. You're just polluting your body. You're creating a state of limitation for yourself, so that you will come about your demise.
Bloating. But let's but to your point, Heru says, when I was like Set, I would eat pork, but I no longer eat the pig in the pyramid text. For those of you who don't know, but the Helical Rising is coming shortly. Build on the Helical Rising, what the significant meaning is, and why it should be recognized.
Thank you. And this is the most important time of the year of our people all over the planet. Every Naga person over the planet knows about this star, because when this star appears with the sun in unison at 30 longitude, 30 latitude, which is the Giza Plateau or the Nilotic Meridian, which runs from the Delta straight through Giza, right down through Tia in Ethiopia, right past Nabta Playa, all the way down to South Africa to where they call the Adams calendar. Some white dude named Adam, they gave him the credit for it, okay? But That on that meridian is where it first appears. And so what you would have to understand on understanding how to tell time is that the legend goes, for those in the temple, and this just some of it you could Google this, but you won't be able to Google it with any type of scientific, mathematical, and spirituality contents, because the Greeks have already, like I said, falsified, corrupted, plagiarized, regurgitated it back to you in an unholy manner. But anyways, we know that there's only 360 days in a year because there's 360 degrees in a circle. The Earth rotates on its axis 24 hours and 35 minutes. There's 35 minutes in every day left over in every day that's split between the duat and the tuat. This is what the Greeks and Romans couldn't understand. Okay? And there's only 360 days. And this was the perfect calendar. It's called a solar calendar. This is the first calendar of our ancestors, our Naga, Shemseru, Nesubiti, Hemet, our Sibas and Sibats, the immortal ones of Ma'at. This is the first calendar. There's only 360 days, but there's only 6 forms of life: plant, insects, reptiles, water creatures, birds that fly, and animal. We don't exist. That's why for you Googlers, or for you scholars, or for those who see the Egyptian picture of Nut the sky, Seb on the earth, and you see Shu holding them up, or sometimes you see Kemu holding them up. That's because there's only 6 forms of life. Mankind doesn't exist yet. That's why you see that picture. So if you wasn't into the knowledge of the teaching of the temple and temple methodology and primordial temple discipline, you would not see the interpretation or the cosmic metaphor that is being interpreted esoterically in its divine proportions. Now you'll see another picture where Shu's no longer in the middle. No one's separating Seb and Nut. This is called the second calendar, the Tahutian calendar, because now mankind is born. That means Nut and Seb had union and gave birth to the earth netters, which is Herdu Asa, Sut or Set, Ast, and Nebhet. These are the 5 children. But now on this, when these children were born, the days are no longer 24 hours and 35 minutes. The days are 24 hours long, like we are today. So all they did was plagiarize and manipulate the mathematics. Okay? So these 5 days were the days that the earth gods were born. And that's how we got here. That's why without understanding how to tell time, we can never regain our spirituality. We're all believing in that Jesus who never existed, in some Allah story, some slave story. They got you believing in the Christians of the Judaism and all kinds of foolishness. You believe in everything but yourself. And you call your own spirituality spookism. I never, they told me our religion is spookism. It's borderline madness. But to understand it all, you have to go back to your basic understanding of how to tell time, how to understand the movement of the light. So we know that there's 24 hours and 35 minutes in every day, which means that there's only 360 days in a year under 24 hours and 35 minutes, but we don't exist. So in order for this next transition to proceed, Seb petitioned Jehuti to plead with Ra for an allotment of time so that his mate Nut could give birth to the earth netters. If you ever watched any of my videos, I would hope somebody would do some research on me before they would. I've been here for 10 years telling people how to tell time. I can't get nobody to engage with me. Nobody wants to talk to Ptah Sekher because they know that I'm going to give them primordial temple discipline, methodology. I am not a scholar. I'm going to take you right to the temple. And when we go into the temple, I'm going to give it to you on a terrestrial plane within the atomic domain, but then I'm going to take you to the Zep. I'm going to take you to the primary evolution of nothing. I'm going to take you to the cosmic consciousness, because this is what a Naga does. A Naga thinks consciously of cosmic consciously. It's called the cosmic revelation. And to understand, so just to get back to this, the difference between the calendars, which is the whole debate with this whole new conscious community.
Hey, ETE Imatep, Seba, break down some of the portions of the calendar. Don't do the whole thing, but give them like the calendar is color coordinated. So break down 1 or 2 of the colors. so that they can start to comprehend your concept when you put this together.
Exactly. Here it is here.
Because hold
Here's
on,
the day. Right.
hold on. Before you go in, I
Sorry, let
think
me.
what needs to be recognized is a couple things. Number one, our Sabar here has put forth time and effort. He knows astronomy. He knows astrology. Most of the naysayers do not have that quality, and most of the naysayers have never seen the artifacts that bring this into play. So where you may say this is not what's up, or this is not true, or this is not ma'akeru, whatever the case, you have to respect the fact that he went and did this and he put it together for us. Not only that, there were 4 calendars that I know were in use in ancient Kim, from the vague, from the lunar, from the solar to the sidereal. So you have to take all of those into account. And it appeared that they were making more.
Exactly. So
Your primary
exactly.
resources.
Exactly. That's what you have to understand. When it was falsified, it was corrupted, it was plagiarized and regurgitated back to you, and they separated it, and they fed it to you one at a time. So they fed you that lunar cycle to disconnect you from the cosmic forces. So let me just break this down here real simple. This is very simple here. This is why there's 9 days in the week. Here's now, primordial temple, primordial source will use Senumet's temple. The tomb of Senumet, who was the chief architect, the chief mortuary architecture of Queen or Nesubiti, the Sibat Hesesep, Queen Hesesep. Okay? And on his tomb room, which I showed everyone every day, they don't see in his tomb room, they show you the picture of Tawawert, which is the hippopotamus goddess, or Apet, which is the northern pole stars, which represents the circumpolar stars. And behind her, she has 9 deities with solar disk on their heads. And above the solar disk are their names in Medunetta. Now, the first name, if you Google Tomb of Senumet, calendar of the Tomb of Senumet, you'll see this. And above the first head of the solar disk, of the solar person holding the solar disk on her head, you'll see the name of Ast. And the next one, you'll see the name of Mesta. And on the next one, you see the name of Hapi, Tuamutep, and Quebsano. Then there's some miscellaneous name there, because this is 18th dynasty, and they're still pulling it together because they were moving into the great age of Aries, of Amun Ra, and things were going into the age of Pisces, so things were getting ready to come to corrupted to where the point where we're at now. Okay, so you have to understand how we're moving through time through the phenomenon of precession. But anyways, what I did was, I looked at it in the eyes of our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial hominin ancestors. Okay, our most earliest indigenous ancestors. And when they looked up at the sky, they seen the sun was the most powerful solar image there. And then when you move closer to the earth, there's the moon. So the first day was always Sunday or Ra day. It's even Sunday today is the first day. The next day is you get closer to the earth, you see the moon. So the moon is the next day, day number 2, because we know that's the day of Jehuti, the moon god, the moon Netcheru. Okay? Now, you go from the sun to the moon, now we're on the earth. So the third day was the day of Seb, not Geb, and not Keb. So this whole thing with Medunetta, when you start learning Medunetta and you start seeing interpretation, how they write it in English, if you see the word Geb, you know that comes from bulge and birches and petri. But if you see Keb, you know that's birches. Bulge and them are the English. Birch and birches are the Germans. So they call it Keb instead of saying Seb. So once you don't pronounce the word right, like Seb is SB. SB means solid. And we know if we spell it backwards, it's BS. And BS means best. And best means fire. And we know that inside the earth, there's a molten core of fire, a ball of fire, of lava inside the earth. So we know this is the correct primordial pronunciation of his name, the earth, as Seb. Okay? This is just for those of you who study Medunetta and who just want to give you a little insight on that. But anyways, let us move forward. We're looking at the days of the week, 9 days of the week. So now we're on the earth. And you look to the left and you look to the right, and what do you see? You see nature. You see Mother Nature. So we name the next day Ost, the day of Ost. So here's the day. Here's the day of Ra, first day. The day of Jehuti is the second day. The day of Seb is the third day. The day of Ost is the fourth day. Mother Nature makes. Now, the next 4 days represent the 4 cardinal points, or the 4 pillars of Pet, or the 4 elements, okay? Which are Hapi, Mesta, Hapi, Tuamutep, and Quetzalcoatl. And of course, the last day is Heru. Now, when you relate it to English and to the Gregorian calendar, you got Sunday, which is still African, and Monday, which is still African because it's the day of Jehuti, or the day of the moon. But now you got the next day is Tuesday. Tuesday is Roman goddess Twi. Twi is the Roman goddess of vegetation. But in Spanish, it's called Martes. And Martes is M-A-R, which is Mars. So now the Spanish are naming it after planets. The English are naming them after the Roman goddess. So it's a melting pot. So it took me 50 years of dedicating my life to figure out what they did to steal our spirituality. I dedicated my whole life. I've never been to the plantation. I don't even know what the plantation looks like. Okay? I spent my whole days and my whole life dedicated to this, to reconstructing and remembering our immortality. I'm only here as a cornerstone, a casing block of our New Age order pyramid, and helping you to remember. I'm only here to help you remember. So now, Martes is Tuesday. Wednesday was Wednesday. Wednesday means, excuse me, Woden. Woden became Odin, which now we're going to Norwegian, to Norway, to the Vikings. Because Woden had a son named Thursday who was Thor. So we get Wednesday and Thursday, which is Odin and Thor from the Vikings. Okay, now we got Friday. Friday is Frigga. Frigga is, oh, hold 1 sec. And Wednesday is Merculis. Merculis becomes Mercury in Spanish. And Thursday is Thor, but, excuse me, in Spanish, it's, in Spanish, it's Jueves. And Jueves is Jupiter. Then we go Frigga. Frigga is Friday. Friday's the Roman goddess of Roman conjecture. You mean the orgy, you know, the freaks come out on night. Freaks come out on Friday. Friday's the night of partying. In Rome, they party, they freak, they did all that fornication. But Friday in Spanish is Viernes. No, Viernes. Lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves. Viernes. Viernes is Venus. So the Spanish are naming them after the planets, the days of the week after the planet, but the Romans and the Greeks and the British are naming them after the Roman gods and the Norwegian gods, the Viking gods. And of course, Saturday, Saturn. So this is where the origins of the names of the days of the week, using etymology and using scholarship, this is what you're going to find. But this is how I understood it and how I broke it down. Excuse me. Through primordial temple discipline, by understanding it and looking at it through the eyes of our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial Naga, Shemsuru, Nesubiti, Hemet, Siba, Sibats, the ancient ones of Ma'ats, our ancestral eyes, so that it can never be corrupted for another 24,000 years, because eventually, again, we're going to move through this phenomenon of possession and end up back in Aries again when Uncle Set comes back to the door again. And we're not, okay, so this has to be preserved and taught in a way to preserve it for another 24,000 years, so that it cannot be misconstrued or manipulated or plagiarized, because it has to apply to the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, and protection. So now, it's all in the color code, like the Siba was saying earlier. So at the top, you can look at the top picture of Jehuti. I got his name in the Medunetta there. I got the star septet there, letting you know this is the month that the star rises. It's all in ancient Medunettas. No English up in the top. I try to take all the Greek, all the foreigners, all the plagiarization. I taken it out of it. I took all the holidays and everything's taken out. But what I did was, this is a 3-in-1 calendar. So this is the month. This month here is August. And it begins August, on July 25th is when the star rises. Here's denoted right here. This is the first day of the year. Because on the Gregorian calendar, I made it a 3-in-1 calendar. I placed the Gregorian calendar right on top of, superimposed it right on top of this, our calendar, because the Gregorian calendar is nothing but a plagiarized version of our calendar anyways. So it was easy to superimpose it right on top. So you would follow this calendar from August to August. Then you would go down to, from August, we go to the next page, and you see the next Sirek, and you see September, and you go through September, then you go to October. So you follow it like that in order to acclimate and to transition yourself from out of that sleepwalking that you're into, because you know you got to wake up and you got to go to the plantation. So how he did what he did, which is called the Hellenistic paradigm doctrines of injured humanity, was what he did was, and you would notice that how is it that they can pass down to their children and descendants how to maintain our subjugation, our mental incarceration for generations and generations, yet we cannot pass down to our children how to free us from our subjugation and to liberate us back into our immortality. And the reason is quite simple, in which you don't even see it. He does it every day without you even seeing it. And how he does it is, the first thing you have to do is recognize what you did this morning and what you did the morning before that and what you're going to do tomorrow morning. You know what you're going to do? You're going to look at that clock, because you know you got to go report to the plantation. You know where you got to go. And
hold on.
I try to keep a little comedy. Try to keep a little comedy there.
Absolutely. Hold on. Let me hop in for a hot second just to give you a rest so you can
yeah, I can
see something else to the next. Pay attention to the screen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to do a quick screen share. These are some of the things that you need to know in order to grow. Let me just pull up a few. Quantum tunneling, very important. Very important to the origin of evolution, as they say. But hold on, let me go back so I can fully share this, present to everyone. Here we go.
Oh, that's nice. That's beautiful.
Right?
That's beautiful.
So when we go in, quantum tunneling, very important if you want to start explaining the universe. These texts right here in the Book of Newt, this is the one relating to the sun.
Absolutely.
I'm sure y'all know Saber's already touched it.
That's the whole story right there. But
and on the right, the text relating to the setting of Heru.
Yes.
So you understand what's going on. So you start to comprehend it. And I've shared this on Google Plus several times. The Book of Newt, and what you need to know these things before you speak on the calendars.
Exactly.
These are some of the the basic texts that you should know.
Exactly. It took me years. So when you see in the center there, right there in the center, you see Q holding up Newt from the earth. So not only, so this is the whole metaphysical story, the cosmic metaphor that is explaining the Zep Tepi through the four primordial force fields, through the expanding universe, through atomic energy, where we're at right now. This is dealing with atomic energy, which is the sun in the expanding universe. Here on the terrestrial plane on Earth as we travel around the sun. Exactly. This is where we're at now. And what it's showing you is the text of the movement of the light and the development of all Earth species. It's telling you the whole story there. But go ahead, Siva. Let me hear what you got to say. This is very nice. I like this.
I wasn't even going to go in too deep. Now, here's your cynical point. This is in Kamambo. This is the calendar supposedly at Kamambo.
Right. That's the lunar cycle calendar. Right. That's the lunar cycle calendar, because on the bottom day, on the bottom, right there where that cursor is, on the far right, go to the far right, and down to it says, down to the bottom day, you'll see there's a symbol there, a Medunetta symbol there that the Kemetic says that means the last day. and that's a 7. That's a 30-day. If you count it, it comes up to 30. And this is a lunar cycle calendar dealing with inventory, and it's based upon agriculture and grain. It has nothing to do with your immortality. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Medunetta, you can see that the Medunetta is more Greek than it is primordial. Can you see the Medunetta?
I can see yup, I can see it.
So just the characteristics. So if you're looking at Medunetta, just when you look at it, you know what dynasty it is. It's not to use the word dynasty, but you know what age or what great age that it was depicted in. Okay? That is a late dynasty or a late depiction of a agricultural lunar cycle calendar. So the Kemetic people think that that's our calendar, but that's only based upon the cycles of the moon, because you see, numerically, there's 30 days. And we all know that even a novice in Egyptology knows there's 36 deacons in the sky. There's 36 deacons. These 36 deacons represents the 36 days in a year. That's why you get 9 days, because that's why there's 9 days in a week. There's 4 weeks in a month. There's 36 days in each month. That comes out to 360. You still get the same mathematical equation of 360. Okay? But if you use a 7-day week, an 8-day week, or a 10-day week, it can only be equated. The mathematical equation can only be 30 days in a month. Do you understand what I'm saying? The only way that you come up with 36 days in a month, you must use the 9-day in a week. So that's why we say before the Romans and the Greeks, there were 9 days in a week. I'm not saying that they didn't have a calendar, they didn't have 30 days in it, because there's three seasons of 4 months. Each month has 30 days. And that comes out to 120 days in each season, which is 360 days. I'm agreeing with the Kemetic scholars. But that's the lunar cycle calendar. That's not a Shemsu Haru. That's a Shemsu set calendar. That's all I'm saying.
There was force to that 365 and pressure from Greece do
No.
that, which is
No, the 365. That's not three. That they had to add. It's called an intercalendary month, an extra month to put the 5 days in. So they don't understand.
Right. That yeah.
They don't understand that.
The
This is why.
yeah.
See, they don't understand that. This is what scholars don't understand, because scholars have no spirituality. All the scholars are Christians. All the scholars are Muslims. I got more Hebrew Israelites telling me about Egypt than Egyptians, right? They ain't no Egyptians. Egyptians don't even know their own. Our own Kemetic people don't even know their own spirituality. It's a joke. It's
That's
a big, because these 5 days don't even exist on the calendar. They don't
That's
exist.
my point. They were forced into existence from your.
But how we relate to it spiritually is because this is the 360 day of the year. Now, these next 5 days are not even on the calendar. They exist through fasting, festival, celebrations, festivals, celebrations, and celebrating the birthday of the 5 earth nectars, because this is how we got here. This is what you got to understand. This is the Tahushi calendar. This is what connects us to the cosmic revelation. This is what they came to Africa to steal from us, and this is what they stole. And without this part of the story, you're nothing but another Roman and another Greek, another wig wearer. You're a wig wearer. You know what a wig wearer is? You know, people in Europe that wear the wigs. you know the Greeks that came to Egypt. You're a wig wearer. If you don't know this story, that means you're a Hotep pimp. That means you're here hustling our people. Because you're still calling us spookism, because you don't even believe in the story, because you're a Muslim, because you're a Christian. I got more Kemetic priests who are ordained ministers. This is a state of madness out here, claiming consciousness. Consciousness is the awareness of being. You cannot have the awareness of being unless you understand the concept of self-creation. And to understand the concept of self-creation, first you must release yourself. Then you must seek out yourself, overcome the sensation of weightlessness, embrace ma'at within yourself then you will acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. And all you're doing is reproducing the process in which the creator of all existence did and how he separated himself in the story of the Zeptepi. So, I'm sorry, nephew. I start moving at the speed of light. My brain, sometimes I'm moving 50,000 miles ahead and everything. But oh, we were talking. Oh yeah, we're talking about the week.
But
The
yeah,
week. Right, about understanding the 5 days and what the 5 days mean. So there's only 360 days in a year. So the next 5 days, tomorrow, not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, we're supposed to celebrate the birthday of Heru'ur. Because he's the firstborn of Sebenut. They had 5 children. In the Asa Set Society, where Amin Ra, Ra Amen, he only has 4 birthdays. So that means there's a mathematical equation, a variant that is not there, which will eventually limit you to your divine birthright, which is immortality. Everybody knows that Heru'ur, he's personified in one body that has the head of Horus and the head of Set on one side. That's Heru'ur. He represents universal dualism. He represents the Horian light. He represents the earth spinning day and night. He never was incorporated in body, earth, air, water, or fire, earth, air, water, or in flesh. He was always dualism. He's the sun. He's called the Horian light and the Sethian light. There's a light from the sun that'll give you life. But if you're in the desert without water, and you're out there for a couple of days, that sun's going to kill you. It's called the Sethian light. You understand what I'm saying, Siba? So this is Heru'ur. So we have to celebrate his birthday first. Then we celebrate Asa. Asa was incorporated in flesh and blood here on the planet. Okay? Then came Set, his brother. We have to celebrate, that's the 3rd day. And then on the 4th day, we have to celebrate the birthday of Ast. And on the 5th day, we celebrate the birthday of Nebhet. And on the morning after Nebhet's birthday, on that morning, on the Giza Plateau, you will see the star Suptet and Ra rise in unison. It won't rise in unison, meaning together, because that's a true helical rising only happens every 1,461 years. The Suptet will rise first, and then 10, 15 minutes later, it'll be the dawn. And you'll see the sun, and you'll see the sun and the star, and then obviously there's be too much light, and then the stars won't be visible no more because the sun's rising. Okay? And that's because our star Suptet and Ra does a binary dance. It does a dance. And this dance creates the helical rising. And it coordinates with the rotation of the earth. And of course, our earth not only rotates, it's tilted 23.5 degrees on its axis. So it's wobbling, right? The earth creates a wobble. And one wobble is 26,000 years. Okay, this is how it's very simple. And then we know that the star shaft from the Great Pyramid, or the Merku on the Giza Plateau, the northern star shaft, the northern vertical line star shaft points to the northern circumpolar stars, which now points to Polaris. Then it eventually, 6,500 years, is going to point to Vega, then to Thuban, and then over to Draco, then it comes back. That's 26,000 years. This is how we know where we're located on the galactic elliptic plane of our quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy. And you can confirm this again by the 2nd helical rising, which is on March 21st, which is called the spring solstice. If you get up in the morning, the spring solstice, before the sun rises, an hour before the sun rises, and when the sun rises, you're going to see a constellation come into view. And that constellation today is called Aquarius, which we call Ma'at Asa. So on the horizon, on March 21st, on the horizon, Pisces is a constellation, has a circle at the top, and there's a line going down like this. That circle at the top has not been visible since 2012. In 2012, that circle from the top of Pisces descended below the horizon. So on March 21st, Pisces is no longer visible. And if you look up the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you'll see the constellation of Aquarius, which means that we just entered into the great golden age of Aquarius, or Ma'at Asa. And this is how we know where we're located on the galactic elliptic plane of our quadrant, the Milky Way galaxy. That might sound a lot to a lot of people, but let me just put it simply. Here's the picture right here. What it is, if you look at a galaxy from an aerial view. You know, a black hole from space, from NASA, look at a picture of a galaxy or a black hole. If you look at it from an aerial view, it looks like a hurricane spinning. But if you look at it from a side view, it's nothing but a line. It's a line. And in the middle of the line, there's a glow at the top and a glow at the bottom. That's the black hole. That line is called the galactic elliptic plane. And our sun moves 15 degrees above the plane, hits the plane, goes down 15 degrees, comes up. This is how it moves through the phenomenon of precession. It's very simple. Our ancestors left this code. This code is written and braided inside of every megalithic architectural monument on this planet. On this planet, it's all coordinated and orientated to the stars Septet, Sirius, to the circumpolar stars, and to the Pleiades. It's always orientated to the Pleiades, Orion's belt, and Sirius, and to the circumpolar stars, the never setting stars. That's how you know that this building was built or was constructed by the Naga peoples. Because this is how it's the East Africa with the Dogons. Everything's orientated to the Pleiades, to Orion's belt, to Sirius, and to the circumpolar stars. Because that's how we know how to get to the next. That's how we get to our immortality. Because we always believed that we would be Ra-born, Ra-nu, as a star, expanding with the universe. This is what immortality is all about. So all you got to do is go outside and pick a star. But you was disconnected from that star because remember, the Gregorian calendar that you watch, when you woke up this morning, you looked at the clock, he got you. You're on GMT UTC. Then you looked at that calendar, that Gregorian calendar. Take that Gregorian calendar down from your wall. Do not introduce your children to that calendar. I made a 3-in-1 calendar. The Gregorian calendar is right in here, so you can make it a practical calendar. They got to go to school and maintain your appointments, whatever practical reason you have to do within the slave mentality or the plantation. It's you can follow it right through this calendar. But it also connects you to your spirituality, which is immortality. But what I was going to say was, which is very important, is if January the 1st is a Monday, 2000, just hypothetically speaking, 2012 is on a Monday, 2013 is on a Tuesday, 2013 is on a Wednesday, and 2014 is on a Friday because they got a leap year. So now it's called a perpetual calendar. Our calendar is perennial. These are Greek words, perennial and perpetual. The Gregorian calendar is perpetual. Our calendar is perennial, meaning fixed. So this means that the star that was there at the moment of your birth, 7 years later, is no longer in the sky. So he disconnected you from the star of your birth, so that he disconnected you from your cosmic connection, right from the giddy up. And you endorsed it and gave it to your child. So you become part of the problem because of your conditioning. So we're trying to help everybody to remember and to connect to their spirituality and to understand their greatness by understanding how to tell time. Because if you cannot understand tell time, the first thing that you learn when you're a child is your ABCs, which is your Medunetta, your 1, 2, 3s, which is your mathematics, and then you learn how to tell time, right? And then you learn how to tell colors. You got to differentiate your colors, and of course, write your name, your Medunetta, and 911, call the police if somebody touches you in the wrong area, of course. But it's just simple things you're supposed to learn as a kid. Here we are, grown men and women, and nobody knows how to tell time. Everybody's teaching somebody something, but nobody knows how to tell time. So we got the blind teaching the blind how to maintain to be blind, and we're all headed down this Hellenistic oblivion, this extermination. We are what we call casual kill. If you Google it, Casual Killing Act. There has been a law since the year 3000 BCE that is legal to kill all black people all over the world. Black lives don't matter. Black lives never mattered for 3,000 years. Nobody seems to understand that. Everybody doesn't understand that it's the law to kill black people. If not, they got to give us back the planet. But But anyways, you don't have to give us back the planet because nobody knows how to tell time. We're bickering over 9 days and 7 days. Knowing that 7 days in a week is a lunar cycle calendar. 8 days in a week is a lunar. You do the math. In the temple, we learn math, science, religion, astrology, astrology. We learn medicine. We learn how to build. We learn everything in the temple that you're supposed to know. You learn it in the temple. You got people teaching. Some people are. I got guys now teaching an atheist. They don't believe in nothing. They don't even believe in God. I got people who believe in a God but don't know mathematics. One who believes in mathematics don't know Medunetta. I mean, it's the blind teaching the blind. I'm not here. I'm only here as a cornerstone, as a humble servant of the light. I spent all my life, 55 years of the training. I'm 62 years old now. I've been born in the temple. I've been in the temple for more than 50 years, training, teaching,
Yeah.
understanding. This
legacy definitely left from that Boston Museum and with this calendar. Yeah, a lot of people do not believe in the spiritual aspect of nature. And then I say, if you don't believe in the spiritual aspect, because not God per se, but nature, the hidden, the amen, the inner active, the inner parts of the Netcheru, as he described himself to be, what makes you animated. So that you move around and you can see a stillborn baby that doesn't have a soul when it comes out. And then you question things like, is there activity inside of me, or are these just molecules bunched together and they're able to move, even though you know about kinetic energy, dark energy, etc., etc. But I wanted to share the screen here because most people in general, they don't even know the basics of certain parts of the sky, right? So when you don't even know that, it makes it difficult to have the conversation concerning, as you can see, this is the northern sky. These are some of the
there we
star
go.
constellations
There you go.
that you, if
Exactly.
you were about this life, if you were about this life.
Right. So what you
But
see?
most people don't.
Right. Exactly. There you go. But that's right. That's a quarter of. You see that. You see Apet or Tawa Wort, the hippopotamus with the crocodile, which represents the circumpolar stars. These are the northern pole stars. Now, it is behind there that inside the temple of the tomb room of settlement that you'll see the 9 figures that I was speaking on that have the solar deities with the sun disk on their heads. And before that, there's another 10 deities represent the 10 months of the year. And above that, this represents half of the constellations. You see Taurus, you see the bull, you see the lion, you see Virgo, Ost, there's Sobek, and so on and so forth. So exactly. So if you're not so that's one quadrant of the sky, right? A quadrant of the sky representing that which was seen at the time of the builders of that tomb. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
This is
Steve.
the north.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
This is the
Right.
northern area. So, I mean, most people can't break down this part of the sky, right? And
Yes.
most of the constellations are just in a basic astronomy or astrology class. So you could find either or and know it's difficult to know some of their ancient stories if you don't read, if you're not really about this work. But you should absolutely be able to know some of the sky. I don't expect everybody to know all of the sky, but you should know some part of the sky. If I ask you where is the Duat, and you don't point to the Orion or Asar, if you don't point to that, and if you don't know the triangle because he's kneeling that triangular area because he sires you, he's your father, you don't know that part of the sky, you don't know Beetlejuice as they call it, and you don't
Yeah.
know Sepdot, etc., to explain which part is which, and you don't see he's carrying a lion on his arm.
Right. Right.
You don't
Which is
understand these
which is
points.
which is relating to the 3 dimensions or the 3 movements of the Earth around the rotation of the Earth, I mean, the revolution of the Earth, the rotation around the sun, and the wobble that the Earth makes through the phenomenon of precession, and daily time, yearly time, and great year time. This is what they're explaining through that cosmic metaphor picture, scientifically, religiously, and mathematically, eternally, externally, and eternally. Help you understand, overstand, and understand that which is pertinent or relevant to acquiring the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. So everything that you see in the Medunetta, like the picture that we're seeing right there, the picture of that for your logo right there. How about we use this picture for your logo right there as an example? Here we have the beetle, and the beetle represents Kepra, which everybody knows means to evolve or the evolve of evolutions. But what people don't understand without being in the temple is that Kepra is the fourth attribute or manifestation of the creator, or Ra-Nebuchadnezzar, who can be explained scientifically, religiously, and mathematically by scientifically relating them to the four primordial energy forces, which is electromagnetism, weak force, strong force, and gravity, or the four attributes of manifestation of Ra-Nebuchadnezzar, which is Temu, to think, Ptah is the door, Amen means gravity or the hidden one, and Kepra means to evolve. So when you see Kepra, that's why Kepra always has the sun disk on his head, because Kepra represents atomic energy. And atomic energy represents scientifically the expanding universe, or atomic energy represents the light. So now we have the Baj or the Majet boat, which represents, esoterically, we have a lot of cosmic metaphor going on in here. But we represent, first you see the two cobras, symbolically representing the dualism, but initially it represents the Naga doctrines of immortality. In other words, it's speaking about us. Anytime you see a snake, anytime you see a cobra, anytime you see a serpent, it's telling you about the sacred Ma'atian doctrines of the Naga or the Shemsu Horuz. The eye would represent Asa on a principle on a terrestrial basis, but on a celestial basis, on a cosmic basis, is representing the creator from which all things came from. That's the creative eye. And then you see on top of his head, he has the crescent moon with the sun, representing the transit of the sun on a terrestrial basis, or representing the solar eclipse, and it's representing part of the function of the movement and measurement of the light. And it's all right there in that picture. And there's even more I could go into. There's just so much more, but just trying to put it into a nutshell so someone can get a feeling and feel the vibration and the frequency and the wave, because you got to remember that motion is a requirement, necessity in the separating of the collective energy contained within a motionless cold void, such as nu, primeval nothingness, dark energy, oblivion, or the cosmological constant. They're all the same thing. It's just different terminologies from whatever field that you're coming from. Okay, the spiritual person would call it nu, or the primeval ocean. Science would call it oblivion. The new science calls it dark energy, and they got the new one from NASA or the Planck calling it the cosmological constant. So it's all basically the same thing. So it's just a matter of understanding the concept of self-creation. What we're going to have to remember also is, which we didn't dwell upon because we had to break into the time. Go ahead, you speak, nephew. My throat is getting I'm over exhausted in my old throat. I'm an old man here.
Absolutely. Let me in fact, like I said, this is just the prequel to tomorrow. Tomorrow, Seba Ptah Sekher will break down the calendar. We will have other presenters hopefully come on and present their idea of a calendar, and we will have a celebration of Helical Rising, and of course we'll have comparisons, because we got to hear the word pseudo, we got to hear the word, well, where's your primary resource? We got to hear all those phrases and terms. It's going to go on both sides. It's going to go down on both sides.
Right. But what we want to make sure is we want to make sure that everybody connects for this time of the year, in which the most important time of our African indigenous cultural spirituality is this time, because our earth has made one revolution around the sun. And we know that because the Helical Rising is getting ready to occur. And it's this during this time that we are the most spiritual of our spiritual, when the most energy is coming. So let's have a discussion. Let's have a talk about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not the smartest card in the deck. But at least let's have a conversation and let's try to find out who has absolute accountability and style validation. I'm telling you a story that's 5 million, 10 billion, 10 million years old. I'm never going to bring up the Greeks. I'm never going to bring up the Romans unless just to break down the calendar and how it was distorted. I'm going to tell you about the story about African spirituality, and I'm going to break it down scientifically, religiously, and mathematically. We're going to go into the cosmic revelation. We're going to go into the primary ocean of nothingness. I'm going to take you right to the primary ocean of nothingness, right into the water to help you drink it. I can bring you there to drink, but I can't force you to drink it. But we're going to go there, because this story will not make any sense. Time doesn't make sense if you can't explain where time came from and where everything came from. Our ancestors knew this. It's written on the walls in the Medunetta. It's like the word. You have to be able to pronounce the word as Medu Nefe Hekau, or words of power. And this is what we're here to do, to evoke the ancestral, spiritual culture of our ancestors by pronouncing these Hekaus and helping everyone to remember, so that we can teach the children. Because I have mothers crying and babies dying every day on my watch, and I will not have it on my watch.
You know, and this is why I'm gonna try and reach out to the brother. The brother is he's I'm gonna try and reach him tonight, since his name came up on a particular website. He's famous because he claims to be in the suit. He's in New York. He's a homosexual brother, yes. But he presents his science on the calendar as well. So I'm gonna try and get 3 to 4 brothers in here who have the calendar sense.
Call them all up. Call Shaka up. Call Shaka up. Call Sarnetter up. Call Unc West up. Call them all up.
Sarnetter ain't got the science on the calendar though. Yeah, okay. But we definitely want to get, if you have your calendar and you think you have it together, and you got science behind it.
I don't think I know. I can prove it.
Hold up, Saber. We're gonna go in so we can see, analyze, and critically critique the calendars, so the people can see and have an idea of what, who, and how this works. And the Helical Rising. Hold on, Saber. He said it. He said his voice was going out. He's still ready. Let me tell you, the Helical Rising is the perfect time. The perfect time to meet with your brothers and sisters and discuss something of this nature, so that we can get it right as a community going forth. Not, oh, this is our community of this. Well, we do this over here, but we do this over here. It's good to have separate moving parts, but remember, we are still a whole. So the discussion must be had.
Right. We're here to assemble the dismembered body parts of our paternal father, Asa Unefa Kenti Amenti, in simple terms. The resurrection.
Like absolutely. When you see that moon and it's getting eaten up during the beginning of the month, and Set is chopping the Sar apart, and then you see Aset and Nebhet putting him back together towards the end of the month, becoming whole again. If you don't know how this works, if you don't know where these stories come from, if you don't know about looking up in nature and understanding how some of these stories came into being.
Exactly. Like the word, like on August 21st, there will be a total eclipse of the sun visible in the United States. First one in like 20-something years. Okay? And this is the first written and spoken Medunetta word known on the planet. It's the first written and spoken word. Okay? So when our ancestors seen the moon pass in front of the sun, and when it passed in front of the sun, and it's a total eclipse of the sun, not a partial, not a preamble. A total eclipse of the sun, when the sun is blocked out by the moon, boom, it creates a ring. And this ring makes a visual symbol of a circle and a dot. A circle and a dot. And our ancestors said Ra. And they thought that was the creator signing his name in the sky. And they called it Ra. This is where the net symbol, Medu Netta symbol, Ra, comes from. It comes from a total eclipse of the sun. Now, when you listen to your European masters, or whatever you want to call them, your Sethian masters, they tell you don't look at the solar eclipse. You're going to go blind. You look at the eclipse, you're going to go blind, right? My answer is the first thing I've ever, when Ra and Seb, Ra and Jehuti and Seb meet, and they're having a conversation here. I want to be part of this conversation. I want to be looking at the sun and the solar eclipse. They tell you not to look at it because unmelanated people, they do have defects within there and something happens to them. But I know Naga people know how to look at the sun during the solar eclipse. So I recommend that everybody look at the solar eclipse. Now they tell you got to look at a box, put a hole in the box, and that really takes out. You really lose the full experience of talking to your Netcherus. Oh, the Netcherus aren't real. The gods and goddesses are only principles. For all you people who think, and all you scholars, all you wig wearers who think that the Netcherus aren't real, do me a favor. Go like this. Take a deep breath, put your hand on your nose and hold it for 10 minutes. Let me see how far they get you. If you don't believe in that air in front of you that you can't see, but yet you're sucking it up every second. That's a netcha. That's a netcheru. These are the elements. These are the cosmic forces that allow you love, guidance, and protection. You cannot live without the gods and goddesses, or the netcherus, or the puat netcherus. They are not principles. They are principles. They have cosmic metaphors and understanding the intellect of it on an esoterical level. But they are as real as they'll ever get. You cannot live without the gods and goddesses. If the sun doesn't rise, you don't make it. You don't drink that water, you don't make it. If you don't plant in the earth, you don't make it. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So we have these teachers that just can't apply temple discipline. It's a method. It's a new age order, primordial temple discipline methodology. From now on, you must have absolute accountability and star validation. And accountability I'm talking about is not from some journal written in the medical Society of Science or Medicine, because they're the same people killing you, the same people that's lowering your body frequency and your vibration. They know when you're going to they know when you're going to expire. They've already got an expiration date planted on you. They already got your organs sold from the food that you're eating every day. To be a real Shamsuaru and to really understand how to understand time and to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being, you must embrace Ma'at in your Ha'at. And to do that, you must know the 5 rules of the Livit. Rule number 1, eat only of the seed. If it doesn't have a seed, don't put it in your mouth. The only thing you put in your mouth that doesn't have a seed is water. Rule number 2, never eat and drink at the same time. Do not mix your solids with your liquids, because when you eat solids and you drink, watch yourself. As soon as you eat, you always grab that water. You always grab that liquid. And when you mix your solids and your liquids, you create an acidy brew. That's why everybody you know got a big belly. All the females are blown up sideways, blown up this way. Men are running around with big bellies. They have these big bellies and they think this is the new style, the Fortune 500 club. I don't know. But it's very detrimental to your health. Rule number 3, eat as the table earth prepares the food, from the earth, from the vine, or from the tree. Rule number 4, never eat to your fill. Don't glut yourself. It's an Ma'atian. And rule number 5 is fast occasionally, in accordance to the Ipeteru Shabitan Tuaru Pamat, during the summer solstice, equinoxes, and certain sacred days, the Sebhet festival, certain festival days, and where the moon happens. You're supposed to fast to purge yourself, to detoxify yourself, to cleanse your systems. It's all part of the natural process of acquiring the ability to experience the phenomenon of being, of becoming an immortal in my eye. I'm an immortal one, a naga. Not a nigga, a naga. You become a naga, that means you're immortal. I'm 61, 62, going on 63 now. My birthday's next week. I plan on looking like this for another 125 years. I'm not going nowhere. I'm trying to help you make it to see the next solar cycle, the next orbiting of the cycle of the sun, to see the earth go around the sun again. The whole trick is seeing the sunrise in the morning. And they got it planned through engineering humanity that as soon as you go outside, oh man, what happened? What happened? We lost me. Oh man.
You still live? You still going? We lost Saber. Once again, remember who you are and be in the SAR. That's Saber Ptah Sekher right there. Presenting his version of the Remech calendar. His version of the Rikiet calendar. Right? The wise people of ancient Kem. The teardrops of Ra. The Hemenet, the people of the sun. Right? So tomorrow, we discuss an important day, and the brother will build on the calendar strong and thoroughly. One of the calendars, of course, like I said, we all have several ideas concerning the calendar. I have my ideas. I reserve them for now. As I'm opening the floor to those who are Sabayat and different people who have claimed to study. You know, I'm just opening up the floor, allowing them their reprieve and allowing them to address some things, some issues, and letting them present it to you, so that you can have a true understanding of the universe around you, real time, real peace of mind and comprehension. Now, the brother Ptah Sekher, he'll probably laugh when he hears this. He got extreme. Me and Sabar Reggie said, yo, you can't do that. You can't necessarily do that. He said, if you can't recite the time and the day, if you can't recite the day that it is, then you aren't worthy of speaking or teaching at that moment. We said, hold up now. But just so you know, because we're trying to get you in right mind and right time, and this is my brother Ptah Sekher's order concerning the sacred calendar, the Pesejet to you. I'm sure Wujao will also probably present one as well. You know, Wujao was well studied. That's my other brother, Seshu Ma'ani Medunecha. If he's able to come on, I don't know if he'll come on. He said he's gonna. It's up in the air. It's looking good. Possibly, we're gonna see. And then I'm gonna try and see if I can get my brother Stanley to hop on here, as he follows a Dogon system, and he presents 4 days in the week, right? And then there's a few other people who have asked and talked to me. We'll see, let's see if their ib pumps Kool-Aid or not, if their heart pumps Kool-Aid or not. Because you know when you're put on the spot, sometimes your feet get a little cold. You need a blanket or something. So we will see tomorrow. And it's going to be a wonderful discussion, not a ruthless debate. What we want, like I said, this is the Helical Rising. This is once, it should be always discussed yearly, but it happens, it takes a while for this procession to come around. So when it does, we definitely need to make sure we're in time and on time, right? So that we don't have to rely on anyone else's time. Remember who you are, be in the SAR, let Jehuti guide your tongue, let Ma'at guide your actions. Ankwas Jed, life, stability, and strength. Uncle Jasaneb, life, strength, and health. Dua, 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 dua for listening. Imhotep.